everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It is a Monday, and I hope that all of you who, worked today and such had a good work day. I did not work today. I was not feeling great, so I took the day off. I napped a lot. I slept, and my stomach still feels a little unhappy, but overall, we're okay. So I'm here, ready for more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're in part 2 of our investigation, I believe. Yeah, I think it's part 2 of our investigation of the Gregson case. So I believe we were getting back to Holmes's suite right after we finished up a trial. So let's continue from there. I'm gonna have my camera on today. I'm trying to use it more, I guess. So that said, if you see me make weird faces and such in order to make weird voices, just look at the screen instead of me. I still can't quite believe what just happened. I know. I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to hospital to recover. Right. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret, not his family, not even the man himself, but I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder? Do you know? Oh, Iris. You were miles away. Anyway, I brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh. Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholme is? When we came out of the courtroom back into the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All he said was, "I must leave." I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death. Well, you know what Hurley's always saying, don't you? There are mysteries in this world that perhaps should never be solved. For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else. What does that mean? He knows very well that when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open up your own too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him. That's so true. But that's what I like about Hurley after all. I suppose that's the lot of a great detective in some ways. So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand. Oh, do you have time, Iris? Yes, I've finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You know, I always hide Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline. You do? Or Mr. Sholmes? I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation. And now we're in control. But yeah, like I said, my stomach's not great. It's better than it was yesterday. And there's been nothing weird bodily wise for this, but I wish there was, because I feel like after, if your stomach feels upset and that there's stuff going on with it, you feel better after you vomit. And I haven't, and I want to. As weird as that seems. But yeah. Anyway, I'll put that aside and leave that out of earshot from you all. So, how did you go in court this morning? Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Von Zieks definitely didn't do it. Oh, goody. Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really? And there was another development too. Cosma. Yes, it's quite clear now that Cosma is not himself. Or the way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed. I know. I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, it was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Cosmo and try to understand what he's going through. Sorry. I had a notification, so I just quickly looked over at Discord. And it's a friend of mine watching Evangelion, and she sent me a screenshot. It's good. Misato's a fun one to look at. Gets up to all kinds of no good. Anyway, if Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Von Zieks has to be innocent, you see. What? The day before? Well, that should be easy enough to work out just by examining the corpse, surely. Yes, you would expect so. But, curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report. That is curious. There are still unanswered questions about Lord Von Zieks, though, aren't there? Huh. Do you mean... I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place? Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he? And it turns out that little room was actually the inspector's secret office. Oh, that sounds like it has the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot. But... and why was that notice board in their code and all those particular papers? Papers about cases with a link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all of this. Oh dear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish. We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late. I never imagined I'd have to be investigating an inspector's movements. Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Red-Headed League the day before his death. Oh, you mean he was doing the same thing as Hurley? Well, Mr. Sholme was trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating. I do wish it had been the other way around. Anyway, as it turns out, the inspector who went to investigate the Red-Headed League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil, in possession of Gregson's identification. You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi. My, yes, you're absolutely right, Iris. But why would Gregson need an alibi? It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep secret. Oh, I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips. But perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar. I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies? Well, anyway, if Lord Von Zieks felt the need to investigate Gregson... Yes, I agree. Let's try to find out what he knows. Alright, so we're gonna go to the prison first. That's the plan. Seems legit. Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Hurley yesterday? That's right. To ask Mr. Sholme if he would help her to find her missing husband. Only Mr. Sholme's completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to hospital? Do you know which one? It's St. Sinner's. I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down. But that's amazing, Runo. You found the lady's husband already. Well, I suppose I have, by accident. And 10 years ago, well, Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison. He was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration. No! So, when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed. Oh, sometimes I really don't want to grow up. There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be his stand-in, to impersonate the inspector. To impersonate Craigsy? But why? I have absolutely no idea. Ginny was right. Oh, I'm starting to think all adults are up to no good now. Including you, Runo. I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me. That means he has ties to the professor, and to Inspector Gregson, though. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil. Don't you? Back to St. Sinners, then. Well, I think it's clear what we need to do, isn't it? Let us investigate, my dear fellows. Oh, Iris, you're even more enthusiastic than usual today. If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting arm will soon set them straight. That water pistol. It's stuff full of piping hot extra special blend of mine. That I'm quite sure will be very effective. I'd better be careful not to hide anything. Well, it feels a little strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still. Let's go and see what we can find out. Yes! We're done, right? Okay. Alright, I do want to go to the prison first, though. Such a fun little melody. Is there... Whoa, jeez. Sorry, I just... It's a window, it's not full screen, so I just accidentally clicked out onto Steam, which popped open Final Fantasy XIV. Well, not all the way open, but like opened the library page of it. Which, the past few weeks, I've been increasingly wanting to reinstall and resubscribe. But I'm probably gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until I finish Remnant or this, whichever one happens first, before I do that. Because I do want to finish Endwalker, and I might just stream it, just so that I can, like, keep it up and what have you. All right. Wait, didn't she say she hit? I thought she said she hit it. Hold on. Stradivarius, that's what it is. Stradivarius, Mr. Naruto. Stragavor, that's a good name. That could be a Final Fantasy XIV character. I just wanted to note the dialogue, anything, like, if it had anything from what we were all just talking about. Though, like, I get that we're, you know, hanging out and chatting with Iris and such, but it is technically a closed case, isn't it? So we shouldn't be talking to her about it, or else it's going to end up in a book. Like, that seems a little bad. But I mean, I guess it's fine. Also, I've messed with a couple settings in OBS, so I'm hoping that it's better, just around compression and limiting and such. So I hope that if I, like, make horrible, like, ooey foreign crying noises today for some reason, that it won't hurt your ears. Lord Onsix is reading. Look. Doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he? But he must have noticed that we're here, surely. What do you Nipponese want? That's no way to greet the lawyer who's trying his hardest to prove your innocence, is it? Perhaps not. I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Lord Von Six, speaking honestly. Oh, the fog will lift over London for the first time in months tomorrow. This does feel very, very strange.
I must say I was impressed.
Oh, well, thank you.
Not by you, by your fellow Nipponese, your prosecutor friend.
Oh,
I see. Yes. It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nipponese, to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. I suppose it's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years.
played the part. You once told me that you gladly allowed people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London.
If keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause, a cause I myself am committed to pursuing, then why would I choose to say anything?
But the henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day, and that was just the most recent of many attempts in your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting from your silence about this. Someone is using you.
Believe me, ever since the Reaper's first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization.
It's a whole organization.
It's inconceivable that all those accidents were orchestrated by one man. No, the Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused in each case, which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved.
Someone that you can't mean.
It's taken me many years, but I've finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization.
Is it Gregson?
Tobias Gregson.
No! Gregson, the Reaper. So, the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intended to expose him as the Reaper.
As I said, the Reaper of the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of that organization.
I don't believe it. Are you saying that Gregson is behind all those awful criminals meeting there?
Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself.
Oh.
He was the tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he really needed a firm alibi.
Which is where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector.
Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper, but the room he rents on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings.
So, we don't actually know who carried out the killings then?
Actually, I do have a name.
You what? Well, if you can name the man, you have the true identity of the Reaper already then.
Or, if I can name the woman. Oh ho 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 ho!
Irene Adler? Or maybe it's going to be a callback to a swan lady. Forget her name. Oh.
She's a young woman by the name of Asa Sheen.
It's Swan Lady. Wait. What? Sheen? Miss Asa Sheen. The true name of a terrifying killer I know only too well. She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson. Then, just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan and conviction, the mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey. Mr. Naruhodo, this perhaps isn't the place to discuss.
No, of course not. Can't mention it here.
The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson,
because Iris doesn't know. It's very likely that the man was her father.
Oh. Asashin, I should let father know at once.
Yes, I agree.
How did he figure that out?
Cosma, isn't it? Cosma Asogi. You say he's a friend of yours.
My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him.
Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities, and I had a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father.
Kenshin Asogi, the professor.
It's true that the aristocracy at the time was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics, in economics, and war. In many ways, Asogi was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves.
I see.
But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint von Zieks was a noble and upstanding man who wasn't corrupt. Why did that damned Nipponese have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine.
He saved your life? How did that happen?
It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. What was to be the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital.
So, Clint von Zieks had already been killed at this point, then?
Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden...
I don't know what voice to say to it.
Don't make a peep! You're coming with us! We are surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only of noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I'd been targeted several times before already. Yeah, it's Von Zieks, alright. Well, got him. I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I knew they were after me. But just when I thought my time had come. If I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me. It was Asogi's voice, just a whisper in my ear. After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. But the next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me. Two days later, they arrested him. On suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor.
How awful for you.
All at once, I lost the brother I revered, and the foreign friend I held in such high regard.
I'm so sorry, Lord von Zieks.
That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone.
Well, thank you for confiding in me. The Professor, the Reaper, and Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are. I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper, giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett. Mr. Naruhodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government wants to hear about this new information. Oh, that means I get to meet your daddy, Susie! Hooray! Yes, all right. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel then.
Nothing else to say. Okay. I guess we're not going to St. Synergy yet. I imagine that we're going to run into Sholmes there, so I'm kind of okay with kind of taking our long way to get there. Alright, well, thanks, Van Zeeks. I just want to know if he has anything to say about this. What's that?
It's just something I was hoping to ask your opinion about, that's all.
It's a serious crime for the defense to attempt to extract information from the prosecution by illegal means.
I think we have more of a defense and client relationship now, don't we?
he just stares. Alright. Well, thanks Van Zeeks for the story. It's only just been a minute, okay. Fresno room. No. Let's go to the hotel. I do love Van Zeeks' theme. Van Zeeks' theme and Asogi's theme are both so good.
I thought it yesterday and I think it again today. This place is so princely.
It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling that you'll think the same tomorrow too.
My tea has a finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in the tea room here, though. Wouldn't you say?
Ah, look who we have here. This is an unexpected pleasure.
Huh. Father! Oh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely.
What a charming young lady. And you are? Ah, really? So you're the author of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, are you?
That's me, Iris Wilson, at your service, sir. Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know.
Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work regularly with much interest.
Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, Father.
Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes some way to explaining that bright look in your eyes. Oh, adorable.
You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is. Believe me.
Now then, young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee of the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery, after I twisted some arms. And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you were omitted by Cosima on the end there.
No. Please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me.
Really?
You didn't miss a step against Asogi. We all know how capable he is. Really, to mature into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary.
It's very kind of you to say so. And really nice to hear.
What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Naruhodo. I trust you haven't forgotten.
Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you? But first, we have something to report, Father.
Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss matters further?
I wonder where Judge Jigoku has got to.
So I guess we're just going to start with the Reaper right away.
Father, do you know about the so-called Reaper Bailey?
I have heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was a visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge.
Right. He didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home.
Lord Von Zeeks, who was in the dock today.
That was Baruch, the younger brother of Clint von Zieks, I believe.
That's right. And he's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you've heard. But the truth is, it wasn't him behind all those mysterious deaths. It was somebody else.
I see. So what you're saying is, there's been a professional killer at work here.
Exactly. Someone by the name of Asogi, in fact.
I beg your pardon? Did you say Asogi? You mean that Giselle Brett woman who was responsible for killing my great friend?
Oh no! A friend of yours was killed. Professor Mikotoba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now. Because the friend your professor is talking about is Dr. Johnny Twilson. And that's not something we want Iris to find out about. Not like this, anyway.
Okay, so let's talk about the other subjects first, I guess.
I haven't seen Judge Jigoku for a while. Have you?
Guilty!
But that guilty is still ringing in my ears.
No. Now you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose since the symposium's opening was postponed, he'll go to explore the Great Exhibition.
That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Jigoku having once been in the talk himself.
Ah, yes. It was all tied up with that accursed trial.
The closed trial of Cosmo's father.
Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to his hand to testify. But he got a little carried away and actually managed to break the witness stand.
Oh my!
He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged.
Oh dear. Although, it's worryingly easy to imagine him doing that.
Well, it was all right. It was all alright in the end. He was acquitted and we returned home to Japan together.
Thank goodness.
Ah, yes. Talking of Seishiro, I have a copy of the photograph we all took together here yesterday. Please.
Oh, what a lovely picture. It certainly seems to shout, "We've arrived in Britain."
I wonder how that's going to factor into the case later. None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we?
No, that's so true.
I'm going to save real quick. Just because I don't think that like one option will get rid of the other, but the options.
So, you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me.
Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another will be over before long. And what it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan.
You want me to do... What? Father, what's the meaning of this?
Now, Susato, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judiciary system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense.
Oh, you mean...
The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible. Really quite urgently, in fact.
But I've not been in London a year yet.
I've read all of Susato's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs.
So, you'd be leaving then, Ryuno? But then, what am I supposed to do, Father?
You came here to serve as Asogi's judicial assistant.
Oh yes. She's supposed to be Cosmo's assistant.
Our government is still in the process of deciding how best to deal with his situation, though. You've always chosen your own path, Susato, and I trust your judgment in this matter also.
Father!
Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion, you understand. A hope, if I'm honest, but I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it, and come to a decision by the time this trial concludes.
Yes, all right.
You won't leave, will you, Bruno?
No, Iris. The thought hadn't even crossed my mind. But so now I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Cosmo's will. But it turns out that he's still alive, so where does that leave me? I've just remembered something. Biscuits. This hotel has the most delicious looking biscuits.
Oh, so rather out of the blue?
She's doing this deliberately. I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris? Oh, yes. You just try to leave me behind.
So that young girl is called Iris Wilson, is she?
Yes, that's right.
And she's the author of all those adventure stories starring the great detective Sholmes. But the name of the credited author isn't Iris, is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson.
Yes, I know. That's the name of her father, you see.
Her father? Dr. John H. Wilson. I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate and invite him to the Imperial Yume University 4 years ago.
But he was murdered last year by Giselle Brett. Why? Why would the hand of the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father.
Well, I can't say that we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner.
So, it could have been another Dr. Wilson, you think?
Well, John and Wilson are both common names after all. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady until we can be sure.
That's what we thought, yes. We're back with cinnamon biscuits. Oh, they smell delicious, Iris. I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here. Don't you, Susie? Yes, I'm sure you're right, Iris.
Well, if you'll excuse me now. I need to telegram government ministers and the Japanese police with this information about Asogi.
Of course, brother. Thank you.
I look forward to next month's installment, Miss Wilson.
Oh, good. And please, do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you.
I would be delighted. The best of luck for tomorrow, Naruhodo. And give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you?
Yes, I will. Going back home. Cue Shadowbringer's opening theme song. Home, riding home. Sorry, I mentioned that I've been in the mood to play Final Fantasy XIV again, so it's on the mind. And if you don't know what I was just talking about, look up the opening cutscene for Shadowbringers. You know, Cosmo-samon has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he loved the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all this. Yes, no doubt. To the prosecutor's office, then? Asogi. Of course, it's so obvious. How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now? Ugh! Mr. Sholmes! Hurley! Where have you been?
Why, I joined you all for tea, of course.
What an extraordinary question. I didn't notice you at all.
No matter, no matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh,
Yes? I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It is a matter of much urgency. To Japan, you mean? Tell me, to whom can I trust the task? Quickly now, to... well... My father has just now left to send a telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself. I see. Well, he looked reliable enough for a bearded fellow. I don't think that father's sports could be considered a beard, Mr. Sholmes. There's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your trusty unshaven father to see this sent. I will, but what is it? No questions at this time, if you please, Mr. Otto. All we can do is pray that for once my deduction is awry. Doesn't that imply that your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes? Which isn't exactly... Now then! You may be surprised to learn that I'm a very busy man. I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations. So, that's what joining us for tea meant. I leave the sending of this in your hands, then, my dear fellows. Well, wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes! He just sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite a pace. And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind, too. I must catch up with Father at the telegraph office at once. Hold on, do I have this thing though before she runs off with it? No. And I'll run and call us a cab. Straight away. And there was me, thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill. Such a fun cast of characters we have. So I guess we're moving then. Unless... Nope, you can't examine anything. Alright, well then... Where should we go? We could try to talk to Cosmo. There's also this, which doesn't have the we should wait thing anymore. So we could go to the hospital bed. I suppose it would make the most sense, right? But I want to see if Asogi's here. I want to see if we can talk to Cosmo. He's here. No argument, Professor Asogi. You will continue with the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly. It's Cosmo, a defying Lord Strongheart by the sound of it. He never did know when to back down. On your way now, Asogi. My lord. Cosmo. He left without saying a word. Yes? What are you doing here? Oh, well, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind. I wanted Von Zieks' trial concluded today. But Professor... Wow. One moment, please. But Prosecutor Asogi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take longer than necessary. Unwelcome inquiries? As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 41 seconds. 42, 43. Then we must resolve everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruto. It's miraculous, not even 5 minutes. Anyway, I can't let the mind be as bad and put me off. I need information. Are we gonna ask people about Gregson? Does Prosecutor Asogi believe that Lord Von Zeeks is the Reaper?
I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful closed trial that Lord Von Zeeks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress.
But that's awful.
The man's freedom was short-lived. It lasted just 3 days.
Yes, let me see. He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe.
Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey.
And people believe Lord Von Zeeks was responsible.
He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident.
So he must have had a solid alibi.
Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continued. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hands of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences.
Well, the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial.
And the impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated.
Is that why it's a closed trial?
Precisely. This country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years.
So the last one was the Professor's, the trial of Genshin Asogi.
Correct.
Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart.
Von Zeeks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later, with the son of the man Von Zeeks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way.
They do say that what goes around comes around.
However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well.
Cosmo is.
I like my organizations to run smoothly in the exact manner that I prescribe. As with the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others.
Ah, so that's what all these gears are about in here.
If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine, I'll be forced to take steps.
What do you mean?
Not something with which you need concern yourself. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow. Now, I shall have to ask you
Sorry, words hard.
Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed from my attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours.
Oh my, that is a long time.
And I hold you entirely responsible.
Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Asogi.
Discussions between the defense and prosecution outside the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go! You can find him in his office.
Oh, thank you. Let's go to see him at once, Mr. Naruto. Cosmo's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not at all sure I know how to talk to him at the moment.
There it is. So he's using Van Zeek's office. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
So, this is the office of a Prosecutor Asogi now, is it? Cosmo-san is doing so well for himself. Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor, Japanese down that dark corner. It's his habit to sit Caesar style whenever he's working. Kazuma. I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Yunosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I? Sorry? That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer. Well, I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor. Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom, so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama, I'm truly happy for you. And I am truly thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. Yunosuke, I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisioned it, but I suppose it's just another twist of fate. I've learned a lot about things in my time in London. About how Susato-san's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Jigoku. And about what happened with your father. Then you'll have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice. Why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself. I want to hear it from you, Kazuma. As you wish, Yunosuke Naruhodo. I like that he has like a slightly like lighter version of Van Zieks' theme. I guess it's just the prosecution's theme in general. But still, it's good. Let's converse. It's getting on for a year now, since what happened on the SS Beria. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain. When a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events. I thought I'd lost my best friend forever. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posse of flowers by the pillow. Awesome cozy. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes. I didn't know what had happened, or where I was. There was just this voice in my head. You have something to do, something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship. We were docked in a large port. It must have been Hong Kong. Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. How the fuck how did he do that? Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realized now that I had escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course. How terrifying for you. Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now. Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. The man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name. But he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. So, how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zieks' apprentice then? That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. They took me straight to Scotland Yard, and by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play. Would that have been your knowledge of the law? He lost all his memories except the fucking law in English. What a time. Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. How did that come up in conversation? And then, 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber. Yes, I did. Ever since I first excuse me. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream. Mark my words, Yunosuke. I'll be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday. Did you know the entire time? But what had happened to your father here? 16 years ago. When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san. Oh my. Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me. Oh. And then one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life. What did it say? It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asogi name. Oh no. As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Who sent that? Presumably the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever had been a member of the judiciary, would have been present at the closed trial. As they sent it. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. But someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem. But still, it couldn't be written by anyone. Why could you believe such a thing? There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree. Then, what did my father have to say about the letter? I couldn't bring myself to show it to him. What? Why not? Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him. He'd done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku, to the other visiting student. He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily, before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asogi. But I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way. Kazuma-sama. What we learned today in court turns things completely on my head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Yunosuke Naruhodo. Lord Von Zeeks isn't the Reaper, you know. I just don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was... It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean you knew? The real question is who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Baruch Von Zeeks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago, it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No! He was merely seeing that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. It's a good line. We're gonna take that. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life. On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. This doesn't feel like it's done. Like there's more to discuss. But maybe we need to go do some other things first. Actually, I want to ask him about this. Can you tell me why? This came up in trial, didn't it? As something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report. Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location was quite something. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Just making sure the alert's going off on my phone or anything important. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence in the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too. So I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gory. If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too. Of course. The last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery. Lowgate? By Barclay Prison, you mean? Ah, you know it. You know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life. Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. Aha! Oh, okay, cool. I guess we don't need to show him any other evidence. Yunosuke, I want to thank you. What for? For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Asogi clan. Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. Karuma is said to have been forged by a master swordsman during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say. This blade, Karuma, is the symbol of the Asogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for his surname. Really? Karuma. It does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side. Which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now too. And that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. That's nice. Though, how did it get back to Japan? If, you know, they killed the father and everything. Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I've said a little too much. Kazuma, you've changed. No, Yunosuke. I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Von Zeeks given what happened. But the fact is, those events in this case are, well, unrelated. Is that what you want to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the Inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary. I can't let you do that, Cosima. I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. I would expect nothing less. Until tomorrow, then, in the Old Bailey. I guess I could keep presenting things to him. He's probably just going to say, like, I'm good, thanks. Alright, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to the laboratory while we're here. We'll get to St. Sinners eventually. We'll let the traumatized man, like, be by himself for a little bit longer. I assume it's Dr. Size's daughter is Dr. Gory, or like that other weirdo that we saw before. This place really is creepy, isn't it? Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being in a dead room, the coroner will probably use a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death. Iris, do you think we could change the subject? Sharpening your scalpel, are you? What was that? Dr. Gory. Yep. What? That noise before. I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them. Right. When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then, I think you'll do nicely. Huh? But no, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. What do you mean some other time? Was that a tut? Well, he came in to ask questions, so... Lady, why you fucked up the report, huh? We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember. You're not dead yet. What? So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that. Well, good. Dr. Scythe has some scruples at least. Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us. For the time being, anyway. For the time being? You mean until we die? Oh, I hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Sure, there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Well, I'm going to present the autopsy to her, I guess. Seems like the most logical thing to do. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this. He was very good. Good? Sorry? His skin didn't sting my blade once. In very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with. We can skip those details. But there's one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. Whoa. I have bad news, everyone. She's cute. Shit. That's not my fault. Oh, that made me jump. And then please, tell us what happened. So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail. Damn it. I was told not to write it. What? By whom? Strongheart. Mel Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice. He came here. Lord Strongheart came... He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on 1st November when the gunshot was heard. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go the same way as your mother. Give it here, then. What's she scribbling so furiously? There. You've written... What? What's she written? Tell us! Indeterminate. But... The deep... I think you can only talk to her about one thing at a time. What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate? When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy. What discrepancy? There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot. What? If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off. Well, yes. What are you really trying to say? It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death. Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do? Theoretically. If you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. If the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time, then only the fish would have started to rot. With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not. But today's science is advanced enough that you freeze a corpse, it seems. But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory, or some other special place. Maybe a hospital. I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death have been? I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier. No. In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility? He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity. If you don't mind then. Sorry. She's gone back to sharpening her blades. Not now, or my baby here might start to rust. I think perhaps we better leave Dr. Gory alone. Maybe we could try again later if we manage to find some more clues. Okay. So maybe we'll have to come back. Interesting. Very interesting. There's such a chill in here. What season is it actually right now? We're not in winter, right? It's not that I'm trying not to go there, to the hospital bed, I mean. It's just that, like, it's the most obvious one, so I kind of want to, like, bounce around. Oh, there's still people here. Oh, Ginny's probably here. Alright, is there anything new here that we should look at? I think we've seen this before. Alright. We read this before, right?
The wig is still here, though. Was this all left here before? Because I don't remember the wig being left like that. We must have seen this, because that's probably what added to the record, right? Okay, so there probably really isn't anything here. Although, can I talk to him? Excuse me. Oh, Inspector. Oh, sir. Oh man, he can't possibly be able to focus on investigating when he's so upset. Okay. Oh look, this chair is broken. Can't examine it, but it's interesting that it is. Alright. To the hospital. We're gonna have to go maybe to the cemetery after all. Perhaps. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Ah, the lawyer. Hello again. Ah, are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago too. You just missed him. Oh, Cosmo beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years. I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. He keeps doing like self-care moves, like holding himself. You mean about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. So, perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but... Oh, it wasn't me that helped the Professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. I swear it. I swear it's true. Oh, Mr. Vigil. I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time. But, if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. Oh, I need to get all this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done. Really good yawn. Excuse me. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that would take his identification and impersonate him. You'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf. No, never. Common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think, a detective called Gregson was here. So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident.
Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters. Yes. So, you would always make a point of showing Grayson's identification and generally being loud. That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me, without returning the inspector's identification to you. Oh, sorry. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day, so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. Interesting. It was midnight on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan to escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed. Correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. What the fuck is this? What is this thing he's doing? And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went to the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, and then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and never shut before I arrived. So you mean the coffin contained... Yes, I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. But in the end, it was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? Who shot him is my question. I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. Who else worked at the prison at the time? Obviously you knew the man. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? He looks good for his age, doesn't he? This guy. Especially for someone who's been working as a peddler for 10 years. Maybe all the, like, taking the makeup on and off and those things and cleaning his face so much has helped to keep him young. Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary,
They called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It was a time of delicate diplomacy, when Britain and Japan were in process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was also quiet and polite. He was a gentleman, and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? I am guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's lives, yes. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. That's good to know. Where's that? As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells. When I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. But why did you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true. But there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. The sword, probably. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainty. Of course, been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. But at the same time, he was a guest in all country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned? To the personal effects he was allowed. That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him. Yes, and that was the long and the short of it. I have no idea where he obtained that paper. Did Genshin send the letter to his son? Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please, please, turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet. Alright then. But what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later... Oh, it just seemed to vanish without trace. What? What do you mean it vanished? I bet you it's in the sword. It would seem that this isn't... Brown voice. It would seem that this isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will. I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asogi's execution
which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cells. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. Default Cosmos. Okay, so that's how the sword got there. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found amongst his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right. Though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming. Ekanai have disappeared completely. That doesn't quite make sense, though, does it? In what way? Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Oh, yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was... the Asogi papers. The Asogi papers. I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I'd forgotten all of this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. But what will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes. What is it? The Asogi papers. I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason. It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. I understand. Worth killing people over, perhaps. Some sort of will that Genshin Asogi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. If there's anyone who might know more about a document that Cosmos Father left behind, it would be Mr. Vigil's governor. Then we know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison. Like, yes, obviously, but also, like, Vigil literally just said, hey, don't let anyone know that I remembered about this. And we're like, cool, we're gonna go talk to your former boss about this. Bye. Like, how exactly are we going to explain that we know about this? I'm moderately curious about this. Ah, look, a pair of crutches. Before we came to Britain, I hadn't realized they were used here as well. I imagine they were imported to Japan from Great Britain in the first place. Oh, so no one in all of Japan broke a leg before their arrival. Anyway, the sight of these things doesn't bring back good memories for me. Oh dear, did you injure yourself once and need to use some? When I was little, I thought they looked fun, so I borrowed a pair to play with. But then I slipped and sprained my ankle. I see. They contain powerful magic, those wooden stabs. The power to heal, and the power to harm. I think a certain cheeky little boy managed to cause the harm all by himself. Well, least he seems to be on the mend. You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it? I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip. I imagine not even his wife would have recognized him. Perhaps. But he really had to take it quite so far. Alright. In some ways, this place seems to rather suit Lord Munson. Oh dear, did I say that out loud? Susato! Come on. She's not wrong, but still. It's rude. What a macabre clock. He's probably not going to be happy we're back. Oh, back again, are you? Yes. Hello. I've heard all about your investigations. Read the report just now. You found a mate, Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho. The laddie doesn't now work here no more, so your case is not to do with Barclay. Or an idea. But get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop. Aye, Kimmer. You can very well. So how about a wee handcuff biscuit? Oh, they really are like little handcuffs. And as hot as irons, too. So, what brought you down here today? Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. Was that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Kitchen Asogi's cell. I think it's been called the Asogi Papers or something. Did I not say? Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay. Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not fool about with our relevant details. His expressions changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. How are we going to talk about it? That murderous botched execution and the whole miserable escape. The old Barclay's darkest hour, right? A shocking embarrassment. Because the convict had to collaborate on the prison staff, you mean? Aye. For shame. The coroner confirmed the death of the man after his execution. Courtney Scythe. My chief warder at the time, Vigil, was in charge of the whole affair. But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't I say otherwise, eh? Or handcuffs. Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened, he was so despairing. He jumped out of your office window, didn't he? I don't know, like to say, but that's just what we're trying to get out of it. You don't think he wouldn't have jumped from the top of his rocks crane exposed, eh? Oh, you. You wouldn't say otherwise, though, wouldn't you? Of course. I can take some more responsibility myself. Shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on that time now. Well, Gregson haven't been murdered. Dr. Scythe forbidden from having visitors. No visitors. Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Well, we're not going home empty-handed. And I wouldn't dream of seeing you packing with now. Come on. Yeah, take a handcuff or two. Oh, well, it would be rude to say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic. I suppose, if there's anybody who might still coon about what happened back then. It'll be our last little forensic division. Maria Glory. Maria Glory? These names. Aye, besides the daughter. She didn't have no more, just the one. But the wee bearings following her mom's footsteps. You never see her without a scalpel in hand. Mama, what is this? Where did she speak? And did she just call the doctor Mama? Dr. Syed's daughter, Maria Gori. Could you be talking to her? So, she's Dr. Syed's daughter, but her surname is Gori.
Why? There's some family history, I'm sure. But I can in the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mom mucking with the bodies of folks who died in strange circumstances. So I did the same with her own life. How can they understand it myself?
Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother.
Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Grayson's autopsy, I believe.
Right. And the coroner responsible for this incomplete report.
Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mom's story about courting the bodies. There's even room that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby.
Well, then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago.
Why? I say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us.
We really need to speak to Miss Gori herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much.
I'm not happy about any part of this. Took years for Londoner to finally get the whole professor business. Can you not give up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions.
I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone.
Can you not just stay away, no? Leave me alone and dinner and come back here, nah?
No, sorry, gotta ask you about the Asogi papers.
How did you come to ken about that, laddie? There's not many folks even in the prison who heard of those papers.
Ah, well, I can't tell them Mr. Visual told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. We've been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? The professor's, or rather Genshin Asogi's.
Aye, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy.
Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? But then, after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it?
Hey, but no, you're off at cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been.
Oh, not what we heard elsewhere.
Let me just have a wee hook around in here. Sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See?
Last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with a calligraphy brush.
Of course, I can't read a word of those Japanese scribbles. But on mine it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland.
Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So, these are the Asogi papers.
Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asogi, no doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie, that's your lot. After all the stramass of that sliced of an execution, we sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan. Well, that was the end of it.
I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruto, just in case.
One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruto.
Oh, yes?
Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death.
But we'll see about that, sir. I request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son, Cosmo Asogi, in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land, and the knowledge that I would never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Huh. Okay. I was expecting to be able to, like, turn it and find something.
I prefer if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office. Or rather, I would just prefer it considered an order from the highest levels of government.
I understand.
I'm gonna go show them Cosmo. I'll be back.
I think we're done with him, but just in case. Hey dude, want to see your dad's last will and testament? Cosmo, what do you make of this?
Alright, fine. Be that way. Forensics laboratory. Is she actually still here? Oh, there she is. It's warm in my apartment. Probably has something to do with my fluffy bathrobe that I wear, but still. Someone's sharpening again. You're still not dead. Anyway, I don't have anything more to tell you about that specimen. Actually, we're not here to ask you about Inspector Gregson. We're hoping to talk about your mother, Dr. Side. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison mentioned. He said that she was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution. That's not all Mama did. Sorry. My Mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Von Zeeks as well. What? Really? The brother of Lord Von Zeeks, the professor's final victim. The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted it was miraculously authorized. That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. That autopsy provided a vital clue needed to arrest the killer. What was it? And Mom was there for the historic event. What does all that mean? You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Von Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about what exactly happened back then, Dr. Gorey. The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and signed the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her. But the execution didn't actually take place. No. And worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. Oh, I don't want to know. Oh dear. You found out recently, you mean? I believed in her, your Mama, but I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her. You mean because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it. Just like Mama. I'm sure she was coerced by somebody else too. Yes, that's my feeling as well. There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged with a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs. According to what he told us, he was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing. Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? It's gonna be Strongheart. You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Von Zeeks. It was at a time when carrying autopsies of murder victims was very unusual. It's still not a practice that is observed in our country, even now. Turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as a secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East, Jigoku. Wait, a visiting student? It must have been my father. Oh no, Mikotoba. That makes a lot more sense than Jigoku. Eugene Mikotoba. I had no idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important.
but the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor. So, that's how they came to identify Genshin Asogi as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more? Would you like to see the records for yourself? Would that be alright? What's the point of keeping records if you can't look at them?
A fair point.
They're filed under V in the back of the cupboards, with the other records from the last decade.
V for Van Zeeks is not Genshin. So why V?
Thank you.
Why V? Let's see. Van Zeeks. I guess they consider it one name or one word. That's strange.
What, Mr. Naruto?
They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zeeks.
There must be.
Perhaps somebody took them away.
No. No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room.
But you're right.
They're gone.
Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember?
It was... Oh, yes. I remember now. 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day, saying that he'd like to see the records.
No,
You don't mean... Herlock Sholmes was his name.
Deep down, I knew that was coming.
Do you think he stole the records?
No, surely not.
Iris, that can't be right, can it?
Is that what he was keeping in his case at the pawnbrokery?
Iris.
Are they part of your story?
You know, I hope you don't mind, but...
What is it, Iris?
I've just remembered something very important I have to do.
Going to have to leave you now.
Oh, this is very sudden, Iris.
Well, we'll come with you then.
Oh, no, there's no need. You and Runa can take your time here. Bye for now, then. Good luck.
Meow. Wait a minute, little girl.
Me?
I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Iris?
Yes, 2 years ago, when the detective came.
You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too. That's the way it usually works, yes.
Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash.
Wait, Iris. I'll brew up a pot for you when you get home.
What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden.
Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either.
It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun.
Aw, look at that smile.
But next time you come, I'd prefer if you were ready for dissection.
I can't make any promises. Sorry. It's a bit strange that the records of Kid Fonzie's autopsy have disappeared. But I think we've asked all we came to ask now. Okay. So do we go talk to her dad? I guess so, right? It's either her dad or go find Sholme's, right? Okay, and her dad isn't here because he's busy sending a telegram. As is Sholme's, theoretically. So maybe back to the suite then. No? Back to the attic? Back to the attic, okay. This is just so what do we do? Yeah. Okay, what do we do, Susato?
you're right, Mr. Naruto. It's rather unusual to find ourselves here in the middle of our investigations. It just occurred to me that I might have forgotten something when we left this morning. Please don't worry. As long as you continue to investigate thoroughly, you won't go far wrong. Oh, yes, of course. I must get back to work as soon as possible.
Okay, so we haven't investigated thoroughly. We can go talk to Van Zeke to get married. There's also Fresno Street, but there wasn't anything there last time. But then again, maybe there could be something there now, like maybe we run into Ginny. I'm hoping for Ginny. Okay. Doesn't look like anything now.
The police are still busily investigating in here then. But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she?
Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her.
I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait?
Actually, there's something different about this room since the last time we were here, isn't there?
I could always use the time to investigate more thoroughly.
Okay. Was this lamp here last time? The photograph from this visual. Oh, I guess I can't examine the lamp.
Realizing the identity of this lady was a very great clue to exposing Mr. Gossip's true identity, he obviously loves his wife very dearly, which is why he felt he couldn't tell her the truth.
The transformation was incredible, wasn't it? Just in that big twisted lip.
Yes, he went to extraordinary efforts to play the part of Hugh Bone convincingly.
Although, it didn't really seem like it was much of an effort to me.
Now you say it, I have to agree.
It's almost as if that was Mr. Vigil's true character.
People really are very hard to fathom at times.
Fair. The board hasn't changed. This wasn't here before, though, right?
This little trunk wasn't here before, was it? Oh, it appears to be made of metal. Must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. There are some initials on the outside, look. TG.
Wait, where?
Let's ask one of the policemen if they know how it came to be here. Oi! What do you think you're doing? Well, that's my trunk, that is. Gina! Where are you hiding? I don't know. You leave something unattended for a few seconds, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got his greedy eyes on it. Just a wild guess, Gina, but what? Spit out, Otto. Is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning's trial? What? What are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere. Always has. Well, you've been the last year.
Try not to incur your wrath, mainly. Hi, Gina.
You should hear them talking at the yarn now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're saying that it was the boss who killed all them bludgers. You mean the whole Reaper thing? Yeah. Apparently the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals what got off scot-free. Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Von Zeeks, who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction. Well then obviously it was that Blue and Reaper giving the orders, weren't it? But why would people be suspecting Inspector Gregson being involved in the killings? There was a notebook within his office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the crimes that have been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No. Did you see it, Gina? Did you see that notebook? They wouldn't flaming let me. Because I'm just an apprentice, apparently. Well, it was me who found it. He was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed about it, so
She nicked it.
yeah. I sneaked a peek at what it said anyway. Oh.
That's our Gina.
So, you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Well, I see it. It's my right to read what he wrote. And what had he written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names. A long list of them. All details what the blood is supposed to have been done in by Reaper. But there could be an explanation for that. Perhaps there's a record of the Inspector's investigations into the Reaper's activities. Exactly! Well, that's what I said. That's the first thing you'd think, right? Well, as it happens, those full names I recognized it anyway. Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known leaders of London's criminal underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd. At the end of the list, you mean? Pretty sure the date against it was the 31st of October. Oh, the day before the Inspector was found dead. So, what was the odd name? It wasn't like a name I've ever seen before. It was something like, nah, it's not good. Can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name, put it that way. Oh dear, what a pity. Who were I the day for? There was something else to do it. All of them ours. But the same name kept coming up over and over. Sheen, it was. Don't suppose it means anything, but... Did you say Sheen? Eh? What? It does mean something. Once knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now we find out her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook. That doesn't give me a new dialogue option. We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina? Well, of course not. Been busy, ain't I? Investigating that. The lads at the Yard are trying to trace the boss's movements the day before it happened. The day before? That'd be the undercover investigation of the Red-Headed League, then. Or the boss didn't go, did he? You found some co-op would pretend to be him, didn't you, Odo? Yes, it was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park on Live Street that day, posing as Gregson. Well, anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. Not my own ways of getting results. Alright, the puppy. Well, me and me partner here get together, there's nothing we can't track down. Oh, little Toby. He's such a faithful friend. So, have you tracked anything down, though? What do you think, eh? Of course we have. Can't tell you, though. Police business, isn't it? Ugh. Anyway, the point is, not ever need any help. You know who to turn to, right? Get the hell out of here. Right. Because he looks so hellish, honest. Do I have anything that I need? Gina, about your hellhound there. Chief Inspector Delby, you mean? He's the pride of the force, he is. In Japanese, police talk means something quite different. Not altogether next to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, oh, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems. Or canine, at least. It should be. After all, in the Great Exhibition case the other day, it was Toby here who managed to locate Drebber's workshop. Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what the super dog can do, eh? Do we have something that Chief Inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder? The red hairpiece? I would say the red hairpiece, right?
Take that!
Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. He might be a little too keen, don't you think? God, what just happened? The Chief Inspector made short work of Gina there. Ah, look what he's gone to. Oh my, that trunk clearly still has a very strong scent. Of Inspector Gregson. In other words, he must have belonged to him. Oh, alright. It's a fair cop, I suppose. He nearly got away with it, too. always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did it not cross your mind that he might identify some photos right next to us? Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, wasn't it? That's enough now then, Gina. Hey, I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. It wasn't like that. It just weren't. What are you talking about? I know what's going through that head of yours, but that ain't what happened. Alright then, what did happen? Well, like I said before, we're trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby have a whiff of the boss's overcoat, and as soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight to that sandwich. To a sandwich? Not to a bag of chips. Mr. Naruhodo. Legina means the witness. Oh, I forgot about that sandwich. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't be under the modern boards of his. The boss's trunk. Oh, that is suspicious. You mean when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all piled in here? Exactly. He nabbed it from the scene. Goodness. I mean, the Chief Inspector gave that sandwich a good grilling, and you know what you said. I thought it might fetch a good price. And the chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... But that's all I did, nothing more, nothing less. Would you Adam and Eve the cheek of it, eh? Still the dead boss's stuff to flog. So, Miss Venus wasn't the only one to know the scene of the crime then. How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. Well, there's a pretty decent trunk, so I figured I might as well make use of it. There's something wrong with that, eh? Well, maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find the answer to that question together. Yeah, but can we open the trunk? I want to know what's inside of it. I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police! Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it? Yeah, alright then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence. Okay. Oh, what's the matter, Toby? What's the matter with Toby? Why is he acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden? Mr. Naruhodo, be careful. It must be the trunk. God, jump scare. Toby, oi, what are you doing? You gonna lick his face off? Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo! Gina, quickly, hail a carriage. What? For what purpose? Lick my face off? I just passed out from a dog jumping on my head. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, are you alright? Miss Susato. Ha! Conscious again at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier. Most unseemly. What is or isn't seemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? What's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water? Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. It's the first aid treatment that my father taught me. Oh, thank you. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bulb of my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry. Whenever you feel ready, then. Interesting way to get us out of the, out of there. Can I check that box, though? Oh, what have we here? Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here, going right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, the metal chest like this have been so badly damaged. Whatever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. How did that happen? Self-defense, maybe? And there's blood on this. Look at this dark stain here. Do you think? Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's blood. Oh, I knew you were going to say that. So that presumably means this was present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. It's most logical conclusion, yes. I think Jean's been carrying this around with her. If you didn't know any better, it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. Does it now? Alright, can I actually unlatch this? Let's have a look inside. Oh, what have we here? Look, there's something inside. Oh, let's see. It appears to be a passport, authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then? Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh! What is it? It was for travel on 31st October, just one day before the incident. Oh, really? Huh. Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered. Really? Okay. That's apparently all I'm getting out of this. Still, that's 3 things. Port of Dunkirk, police business, permission for the applicant and 1 additional person to travel within the week from the 3rd of October. Huh. Passport number ACDO522. It's probably important. Oh, suppose I need to examine Mr. Sholme's for tea. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you've been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I fear that infamous murder of so many had come back from the dead. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prized throat is unscathed. That stiff turnip college of yours obviously afforded some unwelcome protection. Was I that close to that? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in future, a little mustard spread on the cheek should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Alright, well, let's go have tea.
Schwarzbiergebot, brodelnd wie ein Feuerberg.
They get Mikotoba drunk? What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream? Ah, no. It's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris. Iris, what's the matter? Who is that sprawling? I mean, that relaxed gentleman over there. That's your father, Susato. Iris? Is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A Kurdian gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean? The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of reunion for the nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal, Iris. She's turned as white as a sheet. So, as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Musicland, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray, do enjoy Herlock Sholme's latest Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. The game is afoot. Okay, I'm now officially out of water, so I might have to get up at one point during this seduction if I need more. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language. As evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So, why is the man here at all, in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guests a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirit soar, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await sampling the flavor myself, that I may join the fellow in his state of elation. She's ready to cry at how proud he is. Now to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance who might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund von Ornstein. Wait, wasn't that the name of the little tiny kid from the court case we fought? The King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question, that mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed. Wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the Great Exhibition. Okay, so it was his son that we saw before. Oh boy, the girl sounds. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, Daenerys. But your apparent inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. A £5 note, I believe, I must say, as your compatriot. I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the King's secret. And now the final piece of the puzzle. What is this secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes, we need only follow that brief, involuntary twitch of your eye to find the answer. You were attempting to scorn with that coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his hijinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany! And Iris, you tried to conceal it from me! I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement.
Oh, Sholmes. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle. My friend, no. With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather brings in the ears, does it not? Mrs. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mr. Sato, do tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mrs. Sholmes says it's all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your whole reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. There's another grievance, Mr. Naruto. Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently. The one you were just describing. And according to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany. It was the King of Bohemia. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gortz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I've come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruto. It is our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide off the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene. Oh, but one truth is uncontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we embark again on a joint presentation of Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular? Yes. Yes, we shall. Alright. Firstly, religion and nationality. I'm not going to read what we already read out loud, so. Alright, what's she looking at? Is it the phonogram or whatever thing we've got? So what? It's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing. Goodness, I should like to try some. And I'd like to hear your singing. But this man, just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? Well, as I said, he's been stock still the entire time. If you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. I'm not sure what's actually responsible for this spirited singing. But I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris' gaze. Wait, this is a gramophone. Still rarely seen in our own country. The sound certainly appears to be coming from the horn. But machine singing? That can't be right. Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruto. What's right is changing too. Ugh, it's too much for my brain. But at least we found our answer. I just wanted to know if there was anything interesting.
Take that!
The reason for the man's madly irritating warblings revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, but no well-bred gentleman would break into obscure folk song making a social call. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. The music seems to have stopped now. I ask you, Mr. Naruto. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction.
Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the city? As it happens a number of years ago now. Oh no, this is the same as before. You gonna swap it to the Bohemia one? Nope. Although we've already established he was actually the King of Bohemia, it seems Mr. Sholme intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Yes, of course. The boy whom you had in tears. Don't remind me. Or anyone else. Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do. Well, probably. Anyway, the point is, that mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right, as we all know. Because we can identify the true owner of that mask.
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to Cosmo Asogi. In other words, my memory is sublimely unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Cosmo's mask has been languishing on this metal chest for several days. But it doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it is a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman's unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance. Gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. I don't believe it. Ah! Father! I'm afraid, Miss Susato, you must be mistaken. No, I think not, Mr. Sholmes. It would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor is my unconscious father, Eugene Mikotoba. Logic and reasoning, or just looking insane. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you and your liars. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reasoning for your muteness is concealed inside. Are those the Van Zeke's papers? The £5 note poking out from Max's knapsack. Can't be sure. There's many that we encountered in coin form. I know. I'm not even sure if we've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, Father would never paid money for hours of silence. He certainly seems a silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for hours of silence, I suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard to give away with her eyes is something entirely different. Yeah, it's this. Pretty sure.
Take that!
I mean, it looks like she, like, pushed everything off the chest, right? So. And the lock's open, so. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation. But upon closer inspection, there is something different about the chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No! Hallie, don't! Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! Early! He is dead. Never! Oh, Hurley. I told you not to open it. So you find your voice now, Iris? Huh? In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes. The real reason for your silence until now is this is somewhat different to the usual dance introduction you perform, Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so we went to dance this next part solo. Anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this. My own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so I mean, you don't actually know the answer yet, despite that knowing point of the finger before. Mr. Sato, sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. Why couldn't Iris open her mouth the entire time? Oh, the key. That's a key she's holding. Look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It appeared as if by magic. Strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from? Skirt. Wait, what do they say about her skirt? Iris always dresses in these frilly clothes, doesn't she? Always thought the skirt is rather delightful. Pretty sizable with all those frills. Sizable enough for a sizable secret. You seem to be rather fond of that idea. But you certainly can't go investigating further. Does it look like that? Sorry, thank you. The urge to present her skirt is strong, but there's no quick save option, so. Although, I'm kind of curious if like, if there's an achievement for it. As stupid as that is. But it's fine. I don't need an achievement if it involves trying to like pull the skirt aside or something like that. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. When Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest. You're so clever, Runo. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can well imagine what happened here. But Professor Mikotoba also opened that metal chest only to be punched into the air and land sprawled on the settee. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Cosmos' mask? Well, with those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Really, an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotoba opened the chest, completely unaware what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. And the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught the unconscious professor's finger. You mean to say that the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is the great detective's office after all, a place of miraculous deductions? Would you expect anything less? Yes, you're right. Happened exactly as you said. Brilliant, Runo. Thus concludes Runosuke's Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle. Very nice. So then, why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all?
Objection!
An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. But in the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance. Mr. Sholmes, if you would cast your mind back to my earlier direction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. She is. Look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet. So I put it to you again. You were attempting to abscond with that. It is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. Oh, it must have been smashed when Professor Mikotoba opened the chest. Dear, so many things seem to have been broken here. But now the deduction has taken a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore. In other words, her great secret is something else. Let's put our observational skills to work here one final time then. It's the, it's this, right? Or, I can't click on it, right? Ah, haha.
Take that!
Spot the case file. You were attempting to abscond with that case file. Iris, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective. Oh, no. We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Von Zeeks had gone missing. Clint Von Zeeks? Yes, I do seem to recall that some years ago I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? You mean it was you, Iris? So those papers you have there are... Sorry. Forgive me! Wah. Sorry, I don't scream. I'm sorry. To hide the case file. In truth, I would like to have thought I could have predicted the booby-trap chest. But it caught me completely off guard. I was very nearly the late consulting Detective Herlock Sholmes. I'm sorry, Hurley. So, you mean this autopsy report really is? Yes, I took it from the lab, even though I knew it was very important. But was there something in it that troubled you, Iris? Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I'd been looking for. When I saw this report, when I saw the writing in it, I knew it was Daddy's. The writing? Your father's writing? What do you really mean? Iris? Must be something that's hard for her to talk about. Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows. Mrs. Sholmes, what is it? I feel as though the poor unconscious gentleman on the settee has been somewhat forgotten. Father! Perhaps we should find our guest somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. Would you be so kind as to lend him your bed? Let's do our very best to make him comfortable, I feel. Yes, of course. I'll help you carry him up. So will I. No. I can manage alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris's brew to stew. Because there's no better way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder, perhaps that was deliberate. Maybe Mr. Sholmes is making him so scarce to give Iris the chance to talk more freely. We must use this opportunity to talk with Iris. And to find out what's going on. Some sad music here. Would you like to tell us about it, Iris? About your father? Oh, I'm sure I told you before, didn't I? That Daddy used to be Hurley's partner. Yes. And that notes about all the cases they solved together are kept inside that metal chest. That's right. Hurley told me, you see. He said that Daddy's somewhere far away now, so we can't meet.
That's one way of describing it.
Then, when I secretly unlocked the chest and read through the papers inside, I started to build up a picture in my head of what Daddy must be like.
Well, that's only natural.
You're just like any other girl of your age. I read that Daddy was a professor of medical science, so I studied and took my degree too.
Well, that's only natural, I suppose.
In that respect, you're not quite like any other girl of your age, though. But there was one thing that I could never find out. Daddy's name. His name wasn't anywhere on the notes that he made about his work with Hurley. But then one day...
That's what happened, is it? When you saw this autopsy report, you finally managed to work it out. Is that right?
Yes.
So it was the handwriting in the report that caught her eye.
When I saw the writing on that report, I could hardly believe it. I know that handwriting, I thought to myself, because it was the same as the writing you'd seen on your father's case notes. Exactly. I was desperate to compare the two properly. I need to see them side by side. I asked the doctor in the laboratory, but I was told I couldn't take the report away. Even worse, I was told that it was the first and last time we'd be allowed even to look at it there.
So you decided to steal it.
When I compared the autopsy report with the case notes I had here, there was no doubt. The handwriting was exactly the same. It was Daddy's.
And the signature at the corner at the bottom of the autopsy report read Dr. John H. Wilson.
So that's how I finally found out. I learnt Daddy's name at last.
I see.
Ever since then, I'd called myself Iris Wilson. That's also when I had the brilliant idea of writing stories all about Daddy's exciting times with Hurley. I decided there and then that I'd write the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, Iris, I had no idea the stories had quite such a deep personal significance for you.
I can see why the autopsy report was so important to her now. And why she was prepared to break the law to get her hands on it.
I must apologize, Iris.
This is really all my fault.
Hurley?
I made a promise, you see, that until the time was right, I'd keep the details about your father a secret.
I know, I've been very naughty. I'll take the autopsy report back to Dr. Gorey and apologize, I promise.
Yes, we'll go together, I think.
Then, let me look after it for you until we get there. I must go and water my herbs, I think.
Yeah, you do that tomorrow, though. Good Fonziek's 33. Third verse made between 9 p.m. and midnight. Death from a single stab wound to the heart. Other superficial external wounds indicative of a duel. Recently, scarlet ink stains visible on the little and right finger of the right hand, but no document and corresponding ink was found. Vital evidence recovered from the victim's stomach during autopsy. Credit to Inspector Gregson for petitioning so doggedly for the autopsy procedure. No internal trauma noted anywhere in the body. John H. Wilson. Huh. So he dueled Genshin then. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring finger of the right hand. So on these two. Or well, these two. So on the little ring finger would probably mean that like either had the brush or assume that. Does that have anything to do with the piece of paper that... No, it wouldn't. It's not the same day. I'll see you all later. Poor Iris. She must be feeling awful. I know Mr. Shums is here for her, but still. Ah! What? What's the meaning of this, Mr. Shums? Mr. Shums? Oh, dear me. So, you've noticed, I see. But that would mean... What on earth's the matter, Mr. Sato? You turned as white as a sheet. Is this autopsy report, Mr. Naruhodo? The one from 10 years ago? The writing isn't Dr. Wilson's at all. Huh? What do you mean? How could you possibly know that? Because I know this writing very well. This writing is my father's. What? Professor Mikotoba's? Indeed. It's true. And now you know, my dear fellows. No, I don't know anything. What on earth does all this mean, Mr. Shums? Because the idea that's slowly forming in my mind is just too extraordinary to believe. Please, you have to explain. So, this autopsy report was actually penned by Professor Mikotoba then? But that makes no sense. It's not possible, surely. Not possible? My dear fellow, try to take a deep breath and think again. Yes, you're right. In some ways, it actually makes a great deal of sense. It does. 10 years ago is when Father returned to Japan after his extended study tour in Britain. And prior to his return, where was Dr. Mikotoba engaged? Of course. He was an assistant in Dr. Wilson's laboratory, learning about forensic science. And as an assistant, he would have aided with the dissection work, making detailed notes, which would be assembled into the full autopsy report. Once the work was complete, the head coroner would check the contents and put his signature on the document. In other words, the only writing of Dr. Wilson's in the report would be his signature at the end. I see. So Iris got the wrong end of the stick, you mean? She saw that and assumed the whole report had been written by Dr. Johnny Wilson. Which is very understandable, of course. What a complicated situation. Okay. So then his partner was Mikotoba. Thinking about it, most of what we know about you, Mr. Shums, comes from the published stories of your exploits. Yes, the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, written by Iris. We really have no way of knowing what's fact and what's fiction. Most troubling for you, my dear fellow, I'm sure. So what about the supposed partner of yours? Did he really exist or not? You come straight to the point, I see. And please come straight to the answer. I believe Iris explained it in one of her installments. He was a trusted comrade, and the only person I could truly call a friend. And did this partner of yours truly make a record of all your cases? Are his notes really stored inside that metal chest? Absolutely, my dear madame. Absolutely. So, where's your partner now? Upstairs on the bed. We rarely meet. You see, he lives on the other side of the world. But if this autopsy report and the records of all your old cases were penned by the same hand, and if the autopsy report was written, though not signed by your famous partner, there'd be only one logical conclusion. Pray, impress me. Your partner would have to be Eugene Mikotoba. In other words, Miss Susato's father. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? You are coming along wonderfully. You have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. You mean to say?
Allow me to introduce you to my great friend and partner, Mikotoba. Professor Mikotoba. Explains why he has the story that Susato found in his study before. Does this mean that you're the real Dr. Wilson? No, my dear. I'm still my old self. Eugene Mikotoba, your father. Of course. This is obviously too much for Susato-san to take in. I must say, though, that my old friend has attained worldwide celebrity. It's a great mystery solver. It's the greatest mystery of all. I still remember the first time we met. Remind me, when was it again, Mikotoba? 16 years ago, Sholmes. Yes, quite. 16 years ago. I just arrived from Japan with Seishiro and Genshin. I was in search of lodgings close to the hospital, some comfortable rooms at a reasonable price. The rent was definitely high in that particular area. That's right. So I decided I needed someone to share lodgings and the expense. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Sholmes, who found himself in a similar situation. I was a callow fellow back then, a mere shadow of the great detective you see before you now. I was working at the hospital's chemical laboratory at the time, indulging my curiosities for little gain. And the situation of our cohabitation led us to pursuing cases together, you see. Hard to believe. It was a mere 6 years. We had a great many adventures. But in the last year of Mikotoba's stay in Britain, that most infamous of cases presented itself. The case with which you become rather familiar yourselves. The Professor killings. After the trial, Seishiro and I were summoned back home. Hardly surprising, given the circumstances. So, there you have it. And as you know, all the details recorded by my trusty chronicler remain in that metal chest. This is just amazing. Professor Mikotoba really is Mr. Sholmes' famous partner. Father? Goodness, my dear. What a cutting look. As your daughter, I'm very proud to learn that you were the great detective's great partner. But nevertheless, there's another mystery that I really must ask you to explain now. And that is? You know very well what it is. The unresolved matter of Iris's father. Of course. I almost forgotten about that one. Oh, I should have seen this coming, I suppose. Iris told us that all the notes about the great detective's adventures that are in that metal chest were written by her father. Isn't that correct, Mr. Sholmes? That is indeed what I told young Iris. But if you're Mr. Sholmes' partner father, and you wrote all those case notes, then Iris's father must be you. Ah! Oh my word, Miss Susato. You are coming along wonderfully as well. You two have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. What you've always told me, Father, is that my mother died when I was born 16 years ago. And you left me in my grandmother's care whilst you embarked on your study tour of Britain. I've always accepted that. But all this about Iris... Ooh, there it is. Susato-san's ice-cold stare. No, now hold on a minute. It was very complicated. I mean, it's really not what you think. Then perhaps you'd like to explain exactly what it is? There it is. The ice go from ice cold to red hot. Just before she... No, really, you've got the wrong end of the stick. Sholmes, say something, man! Now he's ready to run. That's quite enough, my fiery fellows. Mr. Sholmes, when did he get all dressed up? Whilst I don't like to interrupt this exciting exploration of the past, Mikotoba and I have an urgent matter that requires a short excursion. But it's very late, Mr. Sholmes. Where must you go? Why, my dear madame, is that not obvious? My partner and I must pursue our natural enemies. So, get your coat, Mikotoba. The game is afoot. But Sholmes, I really must give Susato a full explanation, I think. Later, my dear fellow, later. Our carriage awaits downstairs already. You haven't changed one iota, have you? I mean, really. I visit our home after 10 long years. When I open that chest in a fit in nostalgia, I quite instantly pass out. Except that wasn't enough. When I eventually regain consciousness, I'm plunged straight into all this. Father, please, go with Mr. Sholme now. What? I've no doubt that whatever happened, you were acting in everyone's best interest. I trust you completely. So Sato. And sending the great detective and his great partner off on renewed adventures together is more than I could have hoped for in my wildest dreams. Very well then. We'll speak again later. So, I believe your own work is done for the day. I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. Yes, Naruhodo. Good luck in battle. In reaching a decision. A decision? Why did they go back to Japan, I suppose?
So much happened that day that I barely knew what to do with myself. It would only be later that I'd come to realize how amidst the chaos I'd unleashed were all the clues I needed to finally unearth the truth, and that all the turmoil was necessary to give me the resolve to see everything through.
End? Wait, what do you mean end? Not to be continued? Completion of episode 4. Okay, so this is like a two-parter then, right? Episode 5 final. The Resolve of Inosuke Naruto. Alright. Well, we will we'll start that on Wednesday probably. Probably. Likely. There's a chance that we don't though. Well, I just want to make sure. The continue button. Okay, good. So yeah. Tomorrow will probably be more Remnant 2. Possibly with my brother if he's around to play co-op. We'll see if I can get it there or not. If my friend Ty's available. Oh. Excuse me. It is one of my friend's birthday tomorrow, but I won't be seeing them until Thursday, where I have plans to play Mario Kart with some friends of mine at their place though, not on stream. So I won't be streaming on Thursday. And because it's my friend's birthday tomorrow, on Wednesday there's a chance that I might be going over to my friends to help bake a cake for them and like do prep work and everything for the day afterwards, because things have to chill if we make the cake that we're going to make. So I don't know if I'll be streaming or not on Wednesday, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Or Thursday. Well, I mean, I won't be streaming on Thursday. There's a very low chance of that. So I'll let you know about Wednesday. If it turns out that I can't stream on Wednesday and Thursday, I might do this game on Friday, where we'd have like a nice section of time to dig into the resolve of Inosuke. But we'll see what happens. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and I will catch you all another time. So bye for now.